Welcome back to the lounge as we broach a really interesting and, if you're a company owner, vitally important conversation. Whether you've been running a business for a long time or you're an entrepreneur who's just starting out, unfortunately, you may need to resolve a business disagreement somewhere along the line. In fact, it's probably going to happen. Now, do we have the organization for you? Unbelievably so. The company's Tribunal specializes in providing tailored dispute resolution services, offering innovative strategies to address conflicts effectively and timeously. As an agency of the DTIC, it is their mission to promote ethical business practices throughout the Republic of South Africa. And here with us today to very proudly tell us a little bit more about their incredible work is the chairperson, in fact, Judge Dennis Davis. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Maybe let's start with the bigger picture. Why was the tribunal established? What was the purpose?
Because particularly in relation to companies, and we're talking about companies and close corporations effectively, the answer was a lot of the disputes are very, very complicated.
Yeah.
So can we set up a statutory body, doesn't cost people money, or they come before the tribunal, they get an expeditious, speedy hearing, and they can resolve their problems. Why do you have to go to courts? It takes for God knows how long to get through the court system and costs you an arm and a leg.
Well, it takes as long as anyone's willing to fight it. And that's often the problem is you don't have two willing participants in that space. It's two opposing forces.
Correct.
I love the fact that you've got a proven track record now that you can go back on. I don't think you need much validation doing the work that you do. I think you are very purpose-driven in that space, but there have been some success stories. What are you most proud of when you look back over these 10 years?
Well, I think I've only been there for 2, so lots of other people must take credit for this. I think the answer is, in small businesses, people have been incredibly helped as a result of this. You know, you have a name dispute. You call your company X, somebody else, big public company comes and says, no, you can't use X. How do you resolve those problems? Small directors, where they have a fallout between each other. So we've actually been able to help people essentially get through their crises and move on.
And keep going.
Well, that's the point. It's critical in small companies to have some basis by which they could resolve their disputes without being bankrupted through legal costs.
And it is. It's a game changer. It's before and after, really, when the legalities. And also, from an emotional perspective, it can be one of the darkest, ugliest things to go through. So for business owners on any kind of part of their journey, this is a massive thing. Have you done what you've set out to achieve? And I know you've only been custodian of this space for 2 years, but if you think of the mandate that was originally set out when this organization came to bear, do you feel that you've met that expectation?
No, not entirely. I think we've got a mandate which is in terms of statute, because we can only have our mandate in terms of the Act. It's not wide enough. We should be dealing with all sorts of company disputes. Also, until very recently, we were competing against private arbitrators. So you get retired judges and senior counsel costing an arm and a leg, but they've got a hell of a reputation. So people go there. Now the Act has changed. If you want to be have an arbitration or mediation in terms of the Companies Act, you have to come to us. So we now got an expanded jurisdiction. So my task is to promote that, to say you can't go to these fancy schmancy people anymore.
Don't waste the money.
And don't waste the money in the first place. So you come to us. And I think because we've got an expanded jurisdiction, I think we're going to do a lot more than we were able to do in the past. Yeah.
Well, then what further shackles need to be removed? What do you need to happen around you in terms of those major challenges you're facing in getting this right?
No, now that the Act is being changed, I think the big issue is actually talking to people like yourself.
Just getting it out there, yeah.
Getting it out there that this is a body that should be doing a hell of a lot more than it's doing at the moment and can so do. So it's a question of promoting ourselves, because we've now got a broader mandate than we had before. So we can't complain about the mandate anymore.
The shackles have effectively been taken off. I love that. And I love the fact that in a space that is, as we've said, underpinned by very dark from an emotional context, often in terms of the repercussions of these sorts of, when it goes into the legal space, these sorts of conundrums can be devastating. But you are forward-thinking. You're about ethical business practices. There is so much positive woven into this particular mandate. Where do you want to see this go? Now that you've had that opportunity and an expanded mandate, where would you like to see?
Well, firstly, I'd like to see a lot more mediation, which we can do, which is essentially the attempt, you and I have a mediator, we have a dispute, somebody comes along, and actually mediates a dispute, we don't then have to go into an adversarial position.
Let's sort it
People
out.
can move on, right? And there's not enough mediation in South Africa. In other words, to a large degree, as soon as people have a dispute, boom, they go to court.
Yeah.
And before you know, the relationship is destroyed. So what my priority would be is, can we inculcate a culture of mediation so that disputes can actually be resolved and people can not only move on their lives, but perhaps carry on together. You and I
Exactly.
start a business. We may have a great idea together. We then have a fallout. That fallout may not be irredeemable if somebody skilled can deal with it.
For sure, and you've got that,
That's exactly the
that
point.
grounding. That was
Yeah.
the whole purpose of bringing together these minds and that level of experience. I absolutely love that. Congratulations for what you have achieved.
Thank you.
To see this shift is a big one, and it's going to help so many companies, as you've already helped so many. So thank you so much for representing.
And thank you for having us.
Any day of the week. We love having an in-house judge. I must say, there is something quite compelling about that. I think the bottom line is, if you are going through one of these gateways where it feels like an answer isn't there and you are headed to the courts, there is another option. If you're looking for an organization that exercises its functions in accordance with the Act, the Expanded Act, and performs its functions fairly, without prejudice, and in the most transparent manner, then trust the Tribunal. Put that on a t-shirt. I love it. Let them be your partner in navigating the path forward, where every resolution leads to new opportunities, because that's what being in business is actually about. If you have one of these issues, if you're going through this, contact them today.